right, ladies and gentlemen, universal mastery. Welcome back in to my public YouTube channel. In our today's video, we are going to be speaking about something that is so vital and so important to understand, to go much deeper with your process and understand how to navigate certain situations that will appear in your life as you are going to be going through your process. We're going to be talking about the tormentor. Okay, so for someone that's in your life that is potentially tormenting you, we're going to actually look at it from a different lens to understand potentially what is this person trying to show you about yourself, what is the value of having this person in your life potentially, but we're also not going to dismiss the fact that you might be experiencing an abusive situation or an abusive relationship, so maybe we need to create a boundary with this person too. So I'm going to be creating some perspective and awareness on what a tormentor is for you so that you can better navigate these in your life experience and understand when someone is this and when it's time to get away from this type of person because maybe it's just completely abusive. So if this is something that you want to go a lot deeper with, then I would be more than honored to have you stay tuned for the rest of the video, and I will simply see you on the other side. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we are talking about the tormentor. So notice how I'm kind of splitting the words there. Tormentor. So a lot of the times, there are going to be certain people that are in our life experience that are going to be what are called tormentors. So these are going to be people that will directly trigger us in some of the most painful ways that is going to be super frustrating, and the way that we're often going to perceive these types of people as if they are bad people or as if they are enemies of some sort, as if they're just all wrong and we have to find ways to change them, find ways to control them, or find ways to completely avoid them. But the reality is when it comes to a tormentor type of person, this person is actually reflecting really deep layers of our own unconscious back to us. Specifically, what they're most likely going to be reflecting is similar types of patterns of abuse that we have actually experienced in our past, most likely with our family systems in early childhood. And then it's going to be reflecting the exiled, repressed, vulnerable parts of us that we actually experienced in early childhood. So the tormentor who's playing this role is actually triggering not only protective parts of us to try to protect these vulnerable parts of us, but it can also bring out some of these vulnerable parts of us as well. Now, this is going to be a really uncomfortable experience to go through. And once again, a lot of times the first response is to just demonize the person and say, you're wrong or you're all bad. You should not be in my life. Or I have to now create some sort of understanding within self to try to separate myself from this person and make sure that they're the wrong person and I'm in the right. But what I want you to understand when it comes to this type of person is that there's actually a lot of value and there's a lot of room to grow in this dynamic. Now, I'm going to be explaining when we're in a tormentor type of relationship, and then also when we're just in an outright abusive, unhealthy relationship that we definitely need to create a boundary with and leave, okay? Because there's a difference. The last thing that I want to encourage you to do is stay in something that is not safe and that is not fair or that is not healthy, and then you're labeling it as, oh, this is a tormentor relationship. I'm being tormented every day, and apparently I'm going to grow through this. No, there's definitely some things that can kind of separate someone who's a tormentor and someone who is outright just abusive, trying to hurt you. Okay? So the first response that we will typically get with someone who's playing a tormentor role within ourselves is we will oftentimes try to fight against them, or we will try to find a way to make them the bad guy. And this is going to be a protective response in our system. Now, we might even have multiple different types of protective responses. We can have protective responses that dissociate. We can have protective responses that completely want to be avoidant and leave the situation every time. We can have protective responses that want to attack the person and fight them. We can have protective responses that go into people pleasing or fawning and these types of things. So there's a whole host of different parts of us that can operate as protective parts of us. And one of the values of dealing with someone who's a tormentor is we get to understand more of what's going on within our internal system based on what's getting triggered inside of us. So let's say that this person reflects some similar archetypal qualities as mom and dad from the past. And then we go and maybe we work with this person and we ask them for something, and then they give us a response that is almost like a moody, angry, sort of frustrated type of response, like, hey, I don't have time to be talking to you right now. I've got other things that I have to do, be quick. And then maybe this triggers something from our past, where maybe we had a father that was that same way with us because he was always working and he always kind of viewed you as the child as being a nuisance or just taking up his time and energy. So this person at work now triggers us in that way, and then this protective response jumps in, and now we're like, you're bad. Why are you speaking to me like that? Or we jump into people pleasing, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. Okay, I'll make sure I don't do that again. Or, maybe we're avoidant. Maybe we see this person at work and we do everything we can to just completely get away from them. When in reality, it's not that this person necessarily is a bad person. They have their own trauma. They have their own life experience for the reason why they're acting the way that they are. And their intention may not be harmful for you. It's just that their response is also a protective response, and it's triggering your protective response. Okay, so this is the difference between someone who's a mentor, where there's room to grow in this and there's room to learn deeper things about self, between someone who's outright abusive, which has an intention to directly control us and hurt us. So the difference between a severe sociopath that's dealing with narcissism or psychopathy, this person's intentionally wanting to control you, to hurt you, to feel better about themselves. Now, this person who's a mentor may have narcissistic qualities, but they're not necessarily wanting to be that way, and they're just operating out of a protective response, and their intention is still good for you. They still want the best for you, or they still want to have a healthy relationship or communication with you. But regardless, with the mentor, we're still getting triggered. So the value in all of this, though, is we get to recognize what parts of me are getting triggered when I'm speaking to this person, because the parts of me that are getting triggered are the things that I actually need to spend more time and energy with to understand within myself. So if this person is able to bring out this protective response of me, then I want to understand, wow, this energy, I don't necessarily see this energy all the time, but when I'm around this person, I see it. So now I get to understand this part of me, because I know that this energy isn't always there, and I am the center being that is observing this protective part of me. And that gives us room to build a relationship and go through that mentor process within self of what's getting triggered by this other person. And this is a really healthy thing to go through. And we're going to have multiple types of these types of people in our life experience when we're going on a healing journey. I've had many of these people, and they still will show up in my life in many ways. So that's important to know. Now, we just talked a little bit about the protective responses, but what about the vulnerable responses? So sometimes, and oftentimes, these types of people are not only just going to trigger protective parts of us, but then they're also going to be triggering vulnerabilities inside of us, which actually usually stimulates those protective parts. So for example, when that guy at work, treats you as if you're not worthy and says, hurry up, I don't really have time, like, just tell me what you need, etc., and be gone. When he approaches you with that type of energy, and then it triggers you with your father wound, when that's how your father treated you, and now you don't feel worthy, that vulnerability inside of you that doesn't feel worthy is now presenting itself. Okay, that vulnerability that might be a little bit sad that it doesn't feel worthy, or might be afraid because it doesn't feel loved by your father. right? That deeper, repressed, heavier, negatively charged emotion is in the system, and that is also a part of you that is still carrying that from the past. And this person who's playing that role just helped you to trigger that emotion in your system, which then probably activated your protective part that now wants to attack the person or wants to avoid the person or protect yourself from the person. So from this one experience, this one dynamic, this person is triggering not only protective parts of us, but also vulnerable parts of us. And now we get to look at it from a space of, okay, what is it inside of myself that I need to now understand and that I need to be with? So now that I'm seeing the protective responses, okay, that's good. Cool. I'm actually happy that I'm able to see this part of me when in the past I was very unconscious of it and it would just kind of override my system. It would blend with me and I would become that part and I wouldn't even be aware of it. Whereas now I'm seeing it and I'm observing it from more of a grounded central space. And now that I'm starting to build this relationship by just seeing this protective part of me, I'm now able to start seeing the unworthy part of me. I'm able to see what's actually at the deepest core root of this trigger here, which is this younger child part of me that just doesn't feel worthy or doesn't feel good enough and is sad and afraid. So now that I have this whole trigger take place, I can start working with these deeper parts of me. I can work with this exiled vulnerability so that I can better heal that emotional wound there, so that I don't have to be in resonance with someone who's going to be operating as a mentor for me, because the whole goal is that as we go through the mentorship process of our mentors, is that we get to release them from the torment, or excuse me, we get to release ourselves from the torment. And then they can just become a mentor, because we're not going to have that same energetic charge that's getting triggered as we once did once we heal these vulnerable, exiled parts of us. But this is going to take time. And you know what? Not only that, but it will also take us out of resonance too with people that are operating in ways that probably are going to be reflecting past wounds that our parents sort of instilled in us if we came from unhealthy family dynamics, which a lot of us did. So what I'm basically saying is there's going to be a lot less room to have to manifest situations that reflect those past experiences. And the reason why that is because we're manifesting the experience as a tormentor to reflect past wounds, because the exiled, vulnerable parts of us are still frozen in the past and they're energetically resonating within our nervous system, which means there's an oscillation within our energy field that's resonating with the pain of what those parts of us are still carrying. And that's putting us in attraction point for other experiences that are going to show us what we are repressing and what we're exiling. So when we start to address the exiles and we start to go into what was previously repressed, it releases that from the energetic field. Now we're not in resonance point to have to attract that type of experience. Now we can start experiencing new things that aren't reflecting wounds from the past. And this is a whole different approach in everyday life that really takes things to the next level. And obviously, this is a beautiful thing that occurs, but we have to understand what's going on. And we want to recognize when someone's a mentor in our life, and we don't necessarily want to just jump into trying to fight against them, demonize them, avoid them, people please them, whatever the case is. We want to be able to approach it authentically. We want to be able to approach it willing to connect with our vulnerabilities. We want to be able to approach it with awareness on what is getting triggered and recognizing that there is opportunity in this. Now, once again, if you are dealing with someone who does not have a healthy intention for you and is very manipulative and is very controlling in that type of way, that is a different type of person than what I'm referring to as a mentor. Because yes, when it comes to these types of abusive individuals, you're going to be tormented as well. But there's going to be a difference in intention from each individual. The person who's really hurting you and is trying to control you, their intention is to manipulate you and to hurt you. They are trying to hurt you so that they can feel better about themselves, or so that they can feel protected within their system. Whereas the other person, they might be unintentionally hurting you, but their intention is not to do that, but they may be unconsciously doing it. So there is a fine line between it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you're going to have to listen to your intuition to decide what you have capacity for. Because the last thing that I want for you is to hold yourself into something that is just not right for you or just not good for you because you think you're going to get value from it or you think you're going to heal from it. But definitely consider what I'm talking about and start to see some of these people as people that potentially can offer you value when it comes to your development process, because I promise you there is value in this. You know, I've done it myself. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've manifested in my life that have played roles of what I call Tor mentors. But it's funny, it's because the more that I evolve, the less intense my Tor mentors have become, and the more, um, I want to say, the more the catalyst that comes into my life that shows me these reflections is a lot smoother than what it used to be in the past. Because, which would make sense because I'm healing deeper core wounds within my system that are from my past. So I have less of a need to have to manifest it all the time externally. Whereas in the beginning of really doing some deep shadow work, when I was new to that process, I was manifesting like spot on similar character archetypal people from literally the exact abusers I went through in my past. And they were very scary to me. You know, it put me into a severe protective response to the point where I've physically fought people, you know, because I'm fighting against my trauma. I'm fighting against my shadow. I'm thinking I have to protect myself. And in reality, that's not really what it was. It was just energetic resonance. And it was stuff that was deeper rooted inside of the system that needed to be addressed. And now that I started addressing it, and it's been, you know, a couple years that I've really been sinking into this process, I have much more appreciation for people that play that role, and I have more autonomy to stay grounded in my central self, so that when these parts of me come out or when the parts get triggered, I can be with the part, but I don't have to blend with the part and then become it and then get lost in its reaction. But I can just observe the part, recognize it for what it is, and appreciate it for trying to protect me, and then let it know, I got this. Let me handle this situation. I can speak for you. I'm not going to speak as you. And then it allows me room to also connect with whatever this protective part of me was trying to protect me. I can connect with whatever this protective part was protecting when it comes to that vulnerable part, that really sensitive, you know, little kid in there that's just afraid. And I can give myself that safety and that time that I need to really go into those emotions and go into those sensations. I don't need to necessarily do that on camera. You know, I don't need to do that in a crowd of people. I can have my own solitude. I can create my own safe space. I can come out to the butterfly garden by myself and maybe, you know, release some emotions there. Feel my deeper fears, feel my deeper anxieties, connect to my sadness. You know, be one with depression and things like that, so that I can show these parts of me that are carrying that I'm with them and that everything's okay and that I'm going to be the parent that they need, and they can start to trust me again. A lot of us have lost trust within our system. So our parts of us start to run our systems because we're not leading. We're not being the leaders that we need to be. And that's because when we went through trauma that we went through, whether it's shock trauma, complex trauma from the past, we didn't know how to navigate it. We didn't know how to integrate it or process it. We didn't have someone like me right now explaining these processes and educating us and then giving us room to work through it. We had to figure all this out on our own, and we were young at the time. So it made sense that our parts had to develop and start running our system to try to make sense of everything and to try to manage everything and protect everything. But of course, when we get older, that's when we start noticing the negative effect it has on our body, on our life experience, and that's when we start to heal and regain leadership within the system and come from that true self, authentic self core space. And it's a process and it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Okay? So, with that being said, this was the core message of exactly what it is that I wanted to communicate. Hopefully, this could offer you some perspective as you approach your daily life and give you something to work with. Okay, I want you to try to identify who are your tormentors and who are actually abusive people that you need to have boundaries with. Could be your family, could be your friend, could be a coworker. I want you to really pay attention to what we talked about today and try to figure those things out for yourself so you can have a better approach for this practice. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, but most importantly, if you got value from this video in any way, I would encourage you to slam the thumbs up button, okay? Drop down into the comment section and let me know what you learned from this as well. I want to hear exactly what you received from this content today. Hit the notification bell and get notified whenever I'm posting, because I am posting literally on a daily basis and you do not want to miss out, because this is very intuitive content. The stuff that I'm talking about is stuff that I promise you're going to want to hear, you're going to need to hear at times, and by hitting the notification bell, you're going to get notified when it comes out. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, because by subscribing, you are further energetically connecting to everything it is that I'm teaching, which is going to give you more energetic value from what it is that I'm doing here. So definitely make sure you tap into that as well. Okay? Copy and paste this link and send it to someone that you feel like who needs to hear this. If someone just came to your mind, send it to that person. I would encourage you to do that. All right, now I'm going to take your awareness to the most important link within the entire description itself. This is the first link below, and it is the Patreon. Now, on the Patreon, I have an entire vault of exclusive content. This content ranges from things in regards to spirituality, occultism, and healing trauma and working with the deeper layers of your shadow. Stuff that we talked about today, you're also going to find that kind of stuff on the Patreon as well. Everything is organized into different collection sections that is super easy to understand and super easy to navigate, basically from start to finish type of structure. So if this is something that you want to gain access to, I would highly encourage you. There's about 1,580 plus active members as we speak, and it is just continuously growing as time is going on, okay? Tier number 3 and 4 gives you access to something extremely exclusive. This is a Universe B ritual service. That is a ritual service that I perform on the 29th of every single month. For those of you that know me, you know that I'm an occultist, and what I do is I can use these occult sciences to cause an energetic transfer from me to you to support you into the deeper layers of working with your unconscious and subconscious mind. Sort of similar to how different psychedelics can have this effect on our protective parts to allow us to move into deeper vulnerabilities, I can also trigger this effect using energetic ritual. All right, so what this is going to allow you to do is go much deeper with your unconscious and subconscious mind. It's going to bring you through a process of initiating into Universe B, which is what I refer to as the shadow dimension, the shadow realm within self that every single one of us is truly connected to. And as you start coming into acceptance with that space within yourself, and you start healing these repressed energies by feeling them, by sensing them, by following through the education on everything you're going to gain access to within the Patreon, you're going to start grounding more into your authentic self. You're going to start releasing these stored burdens within your system, and that's going to change your energetic resonance, and the world around you is going to start shifting as well. I can guarantee it if you are committing to yourself and you are committing to this process. All right, so I'm going to wrap that up there. All of that is in the first link below, tier number 3 or 4. Take advantage of it. Second link is where you can book a one-on-one call with me, or you can jump right into mentorships. If you're someone who really resonates with me, I would be more than happy to do a mentorship with you. This is going to be the most intimate and powerful way to personally work with me, because I'm going to get to know you on a personal level and understand your unique trauma history and help create a foundation with you that will support you in processing that trauma and regulating your nervous system. Once we have the foundation in place, if it's something you're interested in, then what we can also do is we can get into what is called occult initiation, and I am also a guide for that process as well. So if this is stuff that you are interested in, I'd be more than honored to support you. Currently, I work with people from all over the world, and I do have a full schedule. But if you decide to book with me, I will absolutely find a way to fit you in. Okay, so with that being said, second link below. Same second link below is where you can book a tarot card reading with Alexia. And Alexia is such a gifted and intuitive tarot card reader that can help you understand what's going on within your inner process and what's also happening in the world around you, and then what to expect moving into your near future. So if you want a better perspective on what's going on in your life right now, I would highly encourage you to book a tarot card reading with Alexia because she's very gifted at it. All right, we'll leave it there. Third link is an entire course that you can take advantage of that is going to support you in building a relationship with the energy that is known as Lucifer, the light bearer. So if that's also something you're into, third link below. Fourth link is the YouTube memberships. This is where you join the family. You're going to gain access to a group of like-minded individuals who are all on this process together, working with these deeper layers of the unconscious mind, and we're all here to truly support each other through that process. And that is why we are like a family. You're also going to get access to early content releases and exclusive content as well. So if it's something you're into, fourth link below, I would encourage you to check that out. And the final link is the fifth link. This is going to give you access to some book recommendations for those of you that are studying spirituality and the occult. I encourage you to check that out. With that being said, we're going to wrap it up here. I appreciate all of you very, very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.